Hello, welcome back. If you are working through sketchbook assignments with the class, you're an 8th grader, this would be your second assignment. I do mention in the art curriculum presentation that maybe you should do it after you do a different one, and you would recognize what that is if you were accessing that. Here is my inspo picture. Now you're getting to see the start of my drawing, and it's slightly interpreted. I tried to keep it somewhat realistic, but what you can see is I've drawn my lines, trying to use a bit of that technique where I draw light, I edit, I get sketchy, and I go slow. I have a little bit left here. What I'm gonna do is try to incorporate a little bit of shading.
Okay, so I've added some shading here. I have just your regular wooden pencil. I'm using an eraser, and I have a blending stump. And we haven't addressed these blending stumps. I will be happy to share them with you later. So what I'm doing is I'm looking at individual sections of the artwork, and you'll see a little bit of progression. I started with taking the blending stump in conjunction with the pencil and using a little bit of color to our coverage to color the work. So by lightly pressing, notice that I am away from the paper. My pencil is being held farther back. When I put it to the paper, I have a little less control, but I press lighter. And it's going to offer a light tone across the area that I'm wanting to cover. Now, where the blending stump comes in is that you're going to take it and you're going to blend those colors through, and I guess it's shades that I should be referring to. You'll see it get less streaky and less streaky and less streaky and less streaky, and you can go lighter than this, but this is a nice cover, so when I want to add a highlight, I will be able to. This is a nice medium tone, and you can already see that I have darker tones. Then when I need to do a highlight and brighten something up, give it a little glare, you will use your eraser and the blending stump still, but what you'll get is this tone, which will be really great because you're going to re-show the paper. So I'm going to keep messing with that. If you look closely, you can see how I've found darker tones in the artwork and I'm fading them out. I'll do that elsewhere in the wood grain. And it is a bit blurry, but I will redefine it later. Here I have added a little bit of coverage again, and I'm using the blending stump to blend it all together to get rid of those streaks. This would be great for a wood grain, but because the pencil tones that you see, like when the colored pencil is pink, you would see it all as one tone. I'm going to try and blend it, make it as smooth as possible. Even though I'm working in long streaky lines to do this, the better technique is to scumble. It's like you're getting in a rumble with someone, but it's scumble, and you would spiral around in these tiny little swirls your material you're using, even if you were shading. So same thing, I would take my pencil and I would curl around. It is going to show up a little bit squiggly, and then you would blend it in just the same. So let's say I want to darken an area. Well, of course, you take your pencil, you find your areas, you're going to hold farther back, create your streaky marks where you're going to be placing your darker tones, trying to get your shades. I'm doing the long streaky lines again, but you could scumble, and it's much easier to add layers of pencil rather than try to take away. So I'm starting with this layer. It's just like maybe a couple shades darker, and I'm blending it in with the blending stump. And it's getting darker. Now, let's say it's not dark enough, you would add your layers, and then let's say we want to highlight. So I'm going to keep adding a little bit of shading up in this area. Maybe I'm going to make a perfect crease here. Blend that bad boy in with your blending stump. And then you can start playing with your highlight. So I'm going to bring my eraser in. I'm going to say that I see a streak here. Get the streak visible. I went across that whole pencil, but there it is. It's exact same color as the paper originally was. It now allows for a shadow to show up, And then we have our highlight off to the other side, and then we have a little bit of reflective color. I can take the blending stump and smooth it out. And that's what I'm going to try and do. Make this a little bit nicer. Check it out. I have added a bit more darkness here, a little bit more depth. I've added some here. I have added details to the lines that would show up in the grain of the pencil. And I can go back again with my highlight where I feel like I see it. I'm just going to base it off of the picture where it's black and white. And if I feel like this is too streaky, I can go back and fix it and return to it. Same with like anything. You can go back and even darken areas that weren't dark enough or it looked a little patchy, like maybe right here. Just keep playing. It is going to take a while and it takes some practice, so you could easily practice this before you actually get started. So now that you understand how you could use this to highlight, this to smooth it out, and of course the pencil to create the base tone and the shadows, and continually add layers to darken, now I'm going to go ahead and try and show you with colored pencil.
All right, so I have some yellow now inputted in here. I say inputted, I don't know why. Anyway, you understand that I have added color of varying shades to create more depth, more references to a turn, an angle change in this particular area of the pencil, hidden behind some others with a little bit of a reflection here, and these are shadows being created by the other pencils. So I would go back and I would add more tones, but I actually don't have those pencils at the moment. I'm gonna go ahead and do a little bit more coloring with pencil that I actually have over here with me that I didn't actually go grab for. I would like for you to see how you can actually incorporate multiple versions of one color and of other hues, tones, shades, tints, all that good stuff. That don't correlate with the color that you end up doing. So I'm gonna try and shoot for a pink color on this pencil, and you get to see it in a little bit of real time again, and I might speed it up or jump through it through pictures. So let's get going. I'm gonna start with this main base color, and as I've been sharing, I'm not gonna turn the paper. I would love to, I prefer to, I'm also not scumbling, but I'm doing this because it's gonna allow for me to show you and demonstrate a bit better. So this pencil is not sharpened. In fact, it's quite dull. I also prefer a sharp pencil that allow for me, much like this one, that will allow for me, or even this one, to use more length on the edge, and I can almost use it flat rather than holding it up at an angle, like 45-degree angle as we normally write and color with. So I'll continue through getting a base color, trying to have it be generally even, and I would do this all the way down, but then I'm gonna switch and I'm gonna go with the next pink tone that is going to start becoming another layer, adding more depth, more coverage than it did previously. And we'll keep going. I'll eventually then start grabbing other colors. I'm gonna grab this peach tone. This is gonna be about where we have our highlight. It's gonna brighten it up. Same with this yellow. There can be reflective color from other things. Well, this is a poor move by me. I should have sharpened this beforehand. I know it's kind of dull. There you go. So I could keep incorporating this color, much like the peach. If I were to start moving around, it'd start to show up a little bit more reflective of a yellow color. And I can have these other colors incorporated and be fine, because these pencils are kind of shiny. You may not have a perfect one tone. So I've added more color. I've incorporated this yellow color, but it is so flat that I don't really have much available to me. But again, I'm trying to show you what you can do with and without perfection and all the resources you initially planned on. So I have another purple color. I'm gonna use this as my main shadow color, similar to this. This was actually purple tones. I never grabbed a blue, but I definitely like the way blue looks as a shadowy color. And I did find a brown, so I'm gonna go ahead and use a brown. But I'm just gonna keep layering back and forth with light layers until I start to feel confident in the tonal coverage and where they're at. So I'd go back with my original. Notice I just keep going back and forth between colors. I'm gonna start pressing harder now. When I do that, these colors are gonna blend more as I add more layers. If I were to keep going, leave my little highlight, and I'm rushing and doing a mix of scumbling and straight lines, eventually we'll have greater coverage like this one. So I'd keep going, bring it in, then get lighter again, bring out that peach color, press harder. Remember, I can go back with an eraser and make more of a highlight if I prefer, like that. Maybe it even carries into here. But what is something I have not shared is we have these pencils. They look like your typical colored pencil, but they're actually colorless blenders, and they work great, especially with Premier Prismacolors. We do have a few of those, but since you have your own of varying brands, you're gonna see that this works for some and not great for others. So when I start pressing over the colors that I have here to try to get rid of some of these white marks, it begins to blend the colors together, and it kind of takes away some of those streaks, and it takes away some of those white spots. Again, this is gonna work better for Prismacolor Premier pencils, but we have all kinds of brands, and I use all kinds of brands. And in fact, these over here were created using some cheap colored pencils from a dollar store. But you can already see in this one, it's working great. It's picking up some of those original flecks of colored pencil and moving them around and putting them in. Now, I don't want to brush these away. If I were to brush them in, I can easily make streaks. So I'm gonna wipe them away, flick my paper down onto the floor, or on something beforehand. I could use a tissue to carefully wipe them away. But look at that difference, that's awesome. So you would keep doing this, and you would sharpen this just like you would a colored pencil. So we have colorless blenders that are great for this kind of thing. I will keep messing with this more, and you'll get to see more of it finished when I get done tapping away. I'm gonna incorporate now more of the black and white using my pencil, or gray and white using my pencil and my blending stump and my eraser, and we'll have nearly a finished piece when I get done.